Hello and welcome to In Depth. I'm Tina Jha. If you think yourselves weak, weak you will be. But if you think yourself strong, strong you will be. These inspiring words of Swami Vivekananda have the same magical effect of instilling confidence in us as they did in the 19th century. One of India's most revered spiritual leaders, Swami Vivekananda was an unorthodox monk. He strove to combat superstition. For him, there was no religion greater than serving the wretched, the poor, the ailing, and the oppressed. He undoubtedly was the first and the most successful brand ambassador of India, spreading the idea of oneness and equality far and wide. Through his speeches and lectures, Swami Vivekananda tried to awaken consciousness among people. In the 19th century, he spoke about issues and subjects that are more relevant than ever in today's times. Today, on the 116th death anniversary of the social reformer, let's look back at his life, spiritual journey, philosophies and teachings, and how he went on to win the world. Swami Vivekananda is the forerunner among contemporary Indian philosophers. To understand his personality, it's important to know his philosophy. So let's look at the beliefs associated with Swami Vivekananda. The biggest influence on Swami Vivekananda's ideology were the ancient Indian philosophies, especially Vedanta philosophy. The imprint of Buddhist philosophy is also evident in his thinking. Through the Brahmo Samaj, he countered superstition and orthodox ill practices. The teachings of the Bhagavad Gita also had a deep impact on his thinking. Above was the influence his teacher, Swami Ramakrishna Paramhans, had on his life. Paramhans taught him the need for spiritual discipline and thinking. Vivekananda's philosophy hence can be described as a spiritual inquiry. He believed spirituality is the only truth. Vivekananda not only believed in the singularity of truth, but also acknowledged the various paths to reach it. He also had a deep belief in God. According to him, it is impossible for us to accept the truth of the spirit and the universe and deny the truth of God. The basis of this thought is the unity that pervades everything. Vivekananda believed it is possible to experience God.
He did not say that my path is the only path which will lead you to salvation. In true Bharatiya Parampara, in true Indian tradition, he talks of ekam sat vipra bahudha vadant. Satya ek hai. Truth is only one. Paths can be different. Paths means there could be different religious approaches to reach that ultimate truth.
Vivekananda connected the permanence of the external world to the permanence of the internal world, which is the soul. Vivekananda described immortality as the uniqueness of the soul that starts with rebirth and ends in liberation from rebirth. Religion played a major role in Vivekananda's ideas. To Vivekananda, religion was not only talk or doctrine or theory, but realization of the best and strongest powers within oneself. Vivekananda said that not accepting and tolerating other religions was the greatest misfortune of the world. He advocated a religion of universal oneness and cosmopolitanism. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. 19th century was a period of religious and social renaissance in India. People under the influence of Western education began to logically confront social tradition, religion, and customs. Swami Vivekananda's role has been very special in this journey. He played an important role in the field of social, religious, and political renaissance in India.
Arise, awake, and do not stop until the goal is reached. This most famous quote by Swami Vivekananda encapsulates his idea on social change. For Vivekananda, this is not merely superficial. He appealed for social reformation and engaged in it over his entire lifetime.
And he was born at a time when the society was full of all kinds of superstitions, and which had already led to the progressive degradation of the social values, social norms, so much so that the the people at that period of time allowed themselves to be colonized mentally, not simply physically or territorially, by the West, particularly the British. So his rise in the society, in the academic world, and his intellectual engagement took place at a time when you had on the one hand the deterioration of society, on the other hand you had the imposition of the Western value system on us.
Swami Vivekananda had deep faith in India's spiritual power. His spirituality is the realization of the complete and ubiquitous spirit. This is the reason that his social reform is based on spirituality. He believed it is important to first bring spiritual reforms. He viewed social reform as very important, but also believed that it should not be merely superficial or incomplete. He felt complete reform, on the other hand, will be meaningful and long-lasting.
Specifically, superstitions, his fight against superstition and his fight against the rigidity or rigidification of caste system, the ossified social structure. He was extremely critical about this by saying that your caste not to determined on the basis of birth, but on the basis of the karma, the work that you do in this life. Again a point. So in a way, his entire philosophy, in the Vedantic philosophy that he praised, he shook this very foundation, that period of time on basis of which entered the belief system of existence.
Vivekanand considered the lack of willpower responsible for the plight of the Indian society. He said, unless people themselves come forward to solve their problems, there will not be any improvement. Vivekanand strongly believed that a social reformer should have a deep sympathy for the society, which alone will help him to understand the pain of millions of people immersed in poverty and ignorance. He also said that when the youth of the country sacrifice their comforts for their countrymen, India will rise again.
So you come out of that, you first learn the kind of education system we inherited, learn about the great sages, the saint, how they used to live, the meditation system, the yoga, even our own, say, for example, he mentioned the Patanjali. So what he tried to say, the facts are essential, but the facts are not everything. You can accumulate facts, information, but then basically that leads to quantity. What he was emphasizing, the quality of education. You try to find the meaning of life. So he used to emphasize on man making or the character building. He said character building of personality constitutes 2/3 of education system. The 1/3 represents what you say and what you do.
Swami Vivekananda considered ideological change as a prerequisite for social change. He connected social salvation to self-salvation. Vivekananda wanted to bring about a comprehensive change in India by accelerating the pace of social change. Here, he considered the role of body, mind and soul important, but he trusted the soul the most, which is what made him different from others. According to Swami Vivekananda, the transformation of any one class or community will not change the whole India. Until all people work in this direction, the change will remain incomplete. He has tried to evoke youth, women, poor people, workers and peasants. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Swami Vivekananda was the first to present the idea of India to an international audience at the Parliament World's Religions back in 1893. His historic speech is widely celebrated as the great Chicago speech of the Hurricane Hindu. A reformer and a saint, his words offer an unending source of inspiration to people of all walks of life. Swami Vivekanand was born Narendranath Datta on 12th January 1863. His father, Vishwanath Datta, was an attorney at the Calcutta High Court. His grandfather, Durgacharan Datta, was a Sanskrit and Persian scholar who left his family and became a monk when he was 25. His mother, Bhuvneshwari Devi, was a devout housewife. Fondly known as Narendra, Vivekanand was deeply inspired by his parents, who shaped much of his personality and thought process. As a young boy, Narendra displayed sharp intellect. He acquired his preliminary education from Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar's Metropolitan Institution before attaining his graduation degree in arts from the Presidency College, Calcutta. By the time Narendra completed his graduation in 1884, he had mastered Western philosophy and logic. An avid reader of various subjects including religion, history, social science, art and literature, he also had profound interest in Puranas, Vedas and Upanishads. In his early 20s, he had begun to question the orthodox beliefs of Hinduism. He also studied Indian classical music and regularly took part in sports activities.
He was one of the enlightened soul of India. Unfortunately, though, he lived for a very short period of time. And he was born at a time when the society was full of all kinds of superstitions and which had already led to the progressive degradation of the social values, social norms. In the context when he was born and his engagement in the society and the kind of things he preached or he had in his mind to bring about, like in terms of changing education system, in terms of promotion of the education among the women, in terms of its opposition to the prevalent caste system, which is extremely rigid and institutionalized.
At the threshold of youth, Narendra passed through a spiritual crisis when he was assailed by doubts about the existence of God. In November 1881, he met Ramakrishna Paramhans, who was staying at the Kali temple in Dakshineshwar. On meeting Paramhans, Narendra asked him, "Have you seen God?" Although Ramakrishna did not convince Narendra completely at the first go, he won him over with his selfless, unconditional love. Gradually, Narendra became a frequent visitor to Dakshineshwar and under the guidance of Paramhans, made rapid strides on the spiritual path. The tragic death of his father led Narendra to get closer to Ramakrishna Paramhans, who by then had helped Narendra move out of his spiritual crisis so much so that he was ready to renounce everything in order to realize God. Following the death of Ramakrishna Paramhans, Narendra became the leader of a new monastic order that highlighted the importance of service to man as the most effective form of worship of God. In 1887, Narendra took the formal vows of sannyas and came to be known as Swami Vivekanand. In 1888, to spread the message of Ramakrishna to the world, Swami Vivekanand resolved to embark on a journey, extensively exploring India in the initial years. He walked on foot, lived on alms, and led a life of a wandering monk. It was during his exploration of the country that he was exposed to the abysmal poverty and backwardness among the masses. He became the first religious leader to claim the neglect of the masses as the major reason for the country's breakdown.
Guru and Shishya, it has been one of the not only closest one, but also one of the very, very pious one. Vivekanand was so devoted to his teacher and his piousness can be understood that in the name of his Guru, he created such a hallowed institution in the name of Ramakrishna Paramhans mission.
In 1893, Swami Vivekanand took part in the world's Parliament of Religions in Chicago. His speeches there made him famous as an orator by divine right and a messenger of Indian wisdom to the Western world. For 3 years, he spread the Vedanta philosophy and religion in America and England and then returned to India. On the 1st of May 1897, he founded the Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission, and in 1898, he established the Belur Mutt. In June 1899, Swami Vivekanand embarked on a second visit to the West. He returned to Belur Mutt in December 1900. On the 4th of July 1902, Swami Vivekanand breathed his last at Belur Mutt, leaving behind an immortal legacy, not just in the hearts of his contemporaries, but for generations to come. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. With that, time for a very short break on the program. We'll be right back.
People say that veteran parliamentarians don't retire.
So I'll be active in politics. Why should I retire?
What do you think is the biggest reason for this increasing disruption amongst the parliamentarians? Why they are not allowing the parliament to function?
That agreement to disagree, that is not coming here. That dialogue is not there.
What is your hunch for the 2019 elections?
It will be a tough fight for both sides. That is going to be
For all the parties, you are saying,
yes,
including Congress.
Yes.
Watch To The Point with former Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, PJ Kurian, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Watch The Big Picture with me, Frank Rausen Pereira, at 6:30 p.m.
Neutrino physics, I told you that it is the most penetrating particle known in the world. Exactly what it is there. Is there a hole right there inside? Is there a hole somewhere nearby so that the earthquake may come tomorrow? We do not know. Only neutrinos can do it. Once everything about physics about the neutrinos are established, neutrino technology will come whether you like it or not. If we don't do it, other countries will do it. Neutrinos will do earth terrestrial tomography.
Watch Eureka with Dr. G. Rajasekharan, Professor Emeritus at Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Chennai. Saturday 4 p.m. and Sunday 12 noon, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching In Depth on the life of Swami Vivekananda. At the Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago, Swami Vivekananda represented India and Hinduism. It was here that his opening remarks got a standing ovation from a crowd of 7,000. Let's listen in to one of the most influential speeches ever given as it completes 125 years.
Sisters and brothers of America, it fills my heart with joy unspeakable to rise in response to the warm and cordial welcome which you have given us. I thank you in the name of the most ancient order of monks in the world. I thank you in the name of the mothers of religion, and I thank you in the name of millions and millions of Hindu people of all classes and sects. My thanks also to some of the speakers on this platform who, referring to the delegates from the Orient, have told you that these men from far-off nations may well claim the honor of bearing to different lands the idea of toleration. I am proud to belong to the religion which taught the world both tolerance and universal acceptance. We believe not only in universal toleration, but we accept all religions as one. I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and the refugees of all religions and all nations of the earth. I am proud to tell you that we have gathered in our bosom the purest remnants of Israelites who came to southern India and took refuge with us in the very year in which their holy temple was shattered to pieces by Roman tyranny. I am proud to belong to the religion which has sheltered and is still fostering the remnants of the grand Zoroastrian nation. I will quote to you, brethren, a few lines from hymn which I remember to have repeated from my earliest boyhood, which is every day repeated by millions of human beings. As the different streams having their sources in different paths which men take through different tendencies, various though they appear, crooked or straight, all lead to thee. The present convention, which is one of the most august assemblies ever held, is in itself a vindication, a declaration to the world of the wonderful doctrine preached in the Gita. Whosoever comes to me, through whatsoever form, I reach him. All men are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me. Sectarianism, bigotry, and its horrible descendant, fanaticism, have long possessed this beautiful earth. They have filled the earth with violence, drenched it often and often with human blood, destroyed civilization, and sent whole nations to despair. Had it not been for these horrible demons, human society would be far more advanced than it's now. But their time has come, and I fervently hope that the bell that tolled this morning in the honor of this convention may be the death knell of all fanaticism, of all persecutions with the sword or with the pen, and of all charitable feelings between persons wending their way to the same goal.
In a short span of 39 years, Swami Vivekananda, through his teachings, continues to guide generations even today. Back then, he spoke about reforms to overcome the social, political and economic challenges that we are facing today. His thoughts and principles remain relevant in today's times. Swami Vivekananda challenged every social evil that was prevalent in his time. His ideas that counter orthodoxy, superstition and societal malpractices are relevant even today. Vivekananda's thoughts on dealing with poverty and the poor are an illuminating comment on social justice. He said, and I quote, "Look upon every man, woman and everyone as God. You cannot help anyone, you can only serve. Serve the children of the Lord, serve the Lord himself, if you have the privilege." He also said, "So long as millions live in hunger and ignorance, I hold every person a traitor who, having been educated at their expense, pays not the least heed to them." Swami Vivekananda also stressed on the need to promote education, which he believed should be directed towards moral and character building of a person and not just provide bookish knowledge. He thought it was a pity that the existing system of education did not boost a person's self-confidence and self-respect. Swami Vivekananda's thoughts on education are timeless and as relevant today as they were in the late 19th century.
You have to see his contribution in the context when he was born and his engagement in the society and the kind of things he preached or he had in his mind to bring about, like in terms of changing education system, in terms of promotion of the education among the women, in terms of its opposition to the prevalent caste system, which is extremely rigid and institutionalized. His projection of Bharatiyata, of which each Indian of Bharatiya should feel proud of, its cultural heritage, its spirituality, which is unique.
Vivekananda believed that women empowerment was the key to empower a society. He advocated education of women, saying it was the lack of education that makes them dependent. He repeatedly said, India will not progress as long it keeps neglecting its women. His thoughts on women's emancipation still resound with the society. Swami Vivekananda also had immense faith in the power of youth. He appealed to them to come forward for the development of the nation and the society.
He appealed to the youth that just get up and start moving. You will achieve it. Don't worry about any kind of hindrances. Don't worry about any kind of abhav. Start and you shall do it. You shall achieve it. India will be Vishwaguru again. And he gives this responsibility to youth. That was kind of faith he had in youth.
Swami Vivekananda was not just a saint, but a great patriot, an articulate speaker, thinker, and a writer with boundless love for humanity. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And that's it from us in this edition of In Depth. We'll see you same time tomorrow with a comprehensive view on another subject. You can also watch our episodes online on YouTube and Twitter and share your feedback. Thanks for your time.